So let's start. I want to reread the quote that ran at the beginning. Some of you weren't here to see it, but we'll put it back up on the screen. The time is ripe for looking back over the day, the week, the year, and trying to figure out where we have come from and where we're going to, for sifting through the things we have done and the things we've left undone, for a clue to who we are and who, for better or worse, we are becoming. But again and again, we avoid the long thoughts. We cling to the present out of the wariness of the past. Now, why not, after all? We get confused. We need such escape as we can find. But there is a deeper need yet, I think, and that is a need, not all the time, surely, but from time to time, to enter that still room within all of us, where the past lives on as part of the present, where the dead are alive again, where we are at most alive to our turnings and to where our journeys have brought us. The name of the room is Remember. The room where with patience, with clarity, with quietness of heart, we remember consciously to remember the lives we have lived. And Frederick Buechner wrote that. So let's pray. Father, I know this for some might not be an easy journey. Maybe most of us, it's not an easy journey. You've brought me on this journey for a long time, and it's still not easy. I'm still finding you, or letting you find me. And God, that's what I want most for this class, for this group, is that we will let you find us. And in letting you find us, we will find you. God, we've got a lot of voices. I don't need to tell you. We had a lot of voices that try to speak to us. And voices in the culture, voices in our jobs, voices in our families, but none are as deep as the voice of our father, our dads, and the voice of the father of lies. Those voices are louder than the rest, and they're deeper than the rest. But we want your voice to be the loudest. And so, God, for this week and for all the weeks to come with this group of people, I pray that you'll birth in them a sense of anticipation. Not that they're going to come to some amazing class, but that you can move through this stuff, that they're here for a reason, that you pique their interest for a reason to come to this focus group, and not the other two really good ones, but this one. Because something here said, yeah, this one, go to that one. God, there's a reason they're here. And I trust that everyone that's here is here because you called them here. And so, God, I thank you for being in us. If we're a believer, you are in us. And I thank you that you're there. And I want to live in an awareness that you're there. And so, God, speak to us through your Spirit in each one of us. Speak through the words that I've got to share today. Speak through the interactions that we have with one another. And we give you this time to do that. We give you access. Class, do you give him access to do whatever he wants to do today in this class? If you do, just tell him. I give you access. Reveal things. Help me remember things. Help me visit this room that the St. Frederick Buechner said, this room called Remember. Help me remember the things that I've buried for whatever reason, fear or anxiety or fresh wound that still hurts, scars, whatever it is. God, we give you permission to unearth those things. Because we know that only a wound revealed can be healed. Only an area that's in the light can be restored. I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen? All right. So I read the quote. And basically, Frederick Buechner is saying we need to stop. We need to purposefully stop from time to time and remember. But why? Why do we have to do that? Well, it has a little thing to do with something I call 8 seconds. So just maybe read along here. Seconds. The human attention span is now measured, and this was a study that was done in 2016, at 8 seconds. It's probably 7 by now, right? 8 seconds. They scientifically measure that goldfish have an attention span of 9 seconds. So a goldfish beats us in our attention span. But what this says to me is if we don't purposefully stop, that distraction will always fight to keep us at the surface. We won't ever be able to go into the deep things that we need to go into. That we're always going to be, there's going to be something to distract us. There always is. It's no more true than it is today. It's never been more true than it is today. Distraction will always fight to keep us. And I always think about distraction, and I ask my wife up there, I'm very guilty of distraction. Very guilty. But distraction is like a floaty, right? If the treasure is down in the ship under the water, distraction is like a floaty on each arm and probably around our neck, right? We never go down. We never go down and look in those deep places, diving deep where the treasure's found. But see, it's down in the shipwrecks of our past, and sometimes the shipwrecks of our present. That's where the treasure is found. That's where the real things that we need to know and the things that we need to uncover and unearth are down there. And if we never risk going down there, we'll never find that treasure that needs to be recovered for us. So I want you to take just a couple minutes. There's sheets at each one's table. If you need a pen, there might be a few. If not, there's some great crayons back there. I'll try to have more pens next time. But I want you to think just take 5 minutes, and I want you to think about what's the top 2 or 3 primary distractions you have in your life. Maybe one of yours was already up on the board, right? But what's the things that you go, it's so easy for me to get caught into this. I've got an extra few hours and I'm binge watching Netflix, or I'm watching the next documentary. That's me. So take just a couple minutes, write a few down, right? And then after a couple minutes, just share with each other what is one of your top distractions that you find in your life. Did you find other people at your table have the same ones as you? Yeah. All right, it's pretty common. And none of these things are in and of themselves. Most of these things, I should say, are in and of themselves bad, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with watching one more Netflix documentary, right, Jan? Or playing video games, or doing one more project around the house. There's nothing wrong with most of these things. Obviously, some of us have distractions that go into dark places, but there's a reason that those things, when we've got those few extra minutes, and yeah, I know I work hard too. I get home, I need a few minutes or a couple hours to disconnect and stuff like that, of course. But I'm talking about those things that when you've got some time, and we get stuck in always kind of going to this go-to, right? Anytime I have any time, I start working on this home project, even though I know I don't have to do it, or I might go to this Netflix, or I might go to this game or social media or whatever, fill all the blanks. And I think that the reason why most of us do that is that true life is really calling us to swim deeper, but therein lies one of our biggest struggles. See, the deepest, most profound treasure to be found, the deepest, not one of, but the deepest one to be found, is experiencing God as a true and good Father. This relationship that's supposed to be so profound, so life-changing, that when we have moments to spare, we should be drawn to. But we're not. I mean, let's be honest, we're not. We're drawn to the game or the Netflix or the social media. But that's where the deepest, most profound treasure is. How do we don't get there by saying, okay, I really should look at my relationship with God with this kind of passion and this kind of, I just can't wait to, spend time with God. We can't make ourselves do that. And God doesn't expect us to make ourselves do that. He's inviting us to discover who he is. The natural response when we see him more clearly is we will go, that's the one I want to spend some time with when I have some spare time. And again, not that there's anything wrong with doing other things. See, if you look back in Luke chapter 8, the followers of Jesus, they were with him every day. They said, Master, teach us to pray. You guys read that before. You've heard that before. Master, teach us to pray. Teach us how to communicate with God. We use the word prayer a lot, but what we're really saying is, how do I have this relationship, this conversation? Because every relationship is built on conversation. And if it's not, husbands, ask your wife how she would feel if you didn't talk to her for 2 weeks. I mean, you can't literally. She'll tell you, right? Relationships are built on communication. And so when the disciples were saying, teach us to pray, teach us to communicate with God, they were saying, how do we connect? How do we connect? We see you connecting. Teach us how to connect like that. And in Luke 11:2, he said to them, when you pray, say, Our Father. Start with Our Father. Now, I want to set the context real quick. To a Jew, prayer was a part of life. They had learned to pray since probably before they could speak, right? So it wasn't that they were asking Jesus what prayer was. They knew what prayer was. They knew what saying prayers were. They wanted to know, how to do it Jesus' way. And they say, like John taught his disciples, teach us that. But see, at this point, his close followers had seen him pray. In fact, if you follow the context, they asked him right after he was finished praying. And Luke 11:1, it said, one day Jesus was praying in a certain place. When he finished, one of his disciples said to him, Lord, teach us to pray. So they had just seen him praying for the 100th time, 1,000th time, 10,000th time, who knows? And by that point, they had already witnessed countless miracles. They'd seen him healing. They'd seen power on display. And in Luke's account, where this verse is, previous to this, they had already been sent out on their own. There was a point where Jesus said, hey, go out on your own and heal the sick and cast out demons. So they'd even already done that. So this isn't like, kindergarten day 2, Lord teach us to pray. This is, they're in their senior year of high school, and they're finally saying to the teacher, hey, how do you do math? Teach us how you do math. You always get the right answer. So it's way into the journey. But see, as they walked that journey and they saw power on display, they saw something in this man that was unique, that went beyond what he was doing. They saw a quality in him, something that was attractive, something that they at some point went, there's something about him that's connected to this connection that he has with God. Teach us that. Can you teach us that? That's what we really want. And I'm not sure if they really realized what they were asking, especially since in that verse 1 it said, teach us to pray as John taught his disciples. I think that they were in part asking, what's the techniques, right? Teach me the technique, because you pray and then stuff happens. Teach me the technique. What's the magic? Is there some magic words you haven't told us yet, Jesus? Hey, teach us that, There's got to be some secret. But instead, Jesus was going to reveal what I think is really the very core of the gospel, the very heart of God. Because I don't think it's an accident that Jesus began with the words, this is how you communicate. You communicate with our Father, our Father. I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's an afterthought. Because I think Jesus always spoke purposefully. He is telling us, I think, that the cornerstone, the foundation of life itself, starts with those two words, our Father. Our Father. When he says the word our, he's telling us that what he has we can have too. Because our means mine and yours. Not pray this way, my Father, or your Father. It's our Father. He's saying this is available for you. The communication that I enjoy is not just for me alone. This relationship, the connection that I have is meant for you too. It's meant for you. But a relationship to what or to whom? And I think this is one of the pivotal points, probably one of the most confrontational parts, or the most revolutionary parts that he says.